Here we are.
Mr. Dallas, how are you?
Very well, Gordon. How's yourself?
Very well. This fine evening in December. How's everything going?
Great. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this, Gordon.
Yeah.
For reasons that we'll get into as well. So really looking forward to these absolutely amazing whiskies.
Absolutely. And before we even start, a few people to say hello to.
Oh,
Gus Rennie, hello, Gus. Vic Cameron, hello, good evening. Martin Lawson, Guy Dutton, Susanna Allen, Michael Patterson, Caroline Gibson. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. I love to see the enthusiasm.
Oh, fantastic. So tonight is a little bit of an investigation of these. Yes. Now, what first strikes you about these, Gordon?
The colour.
Very different.
Yeah, you can see it straight away.
Yeah, very different. Now, these whiskies are the same strength. They're both sherry casks, but they're very different because of the oak, which we're going to investigate a little bit more. The Edinburgh one, which we've had a little bit of for sale recently, and the new Heathrow one. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on, and the differences between them and how we combine these together in our core range of our 12, our 15, and our batch strength. Dougie Wiley, good evening. Caroline Gibson, good evening. So let's talk a little bit about sherry. I've been talking about sherry a bit this afternoon with some fantastic friends of mine on the computer. But what I've always wondered, and I know you're a big historian, you love your history, you love your whiskey history. You sit there in your sauna looking through history books, don't you?
Books, yes.
Yeah, if he's not colouring them in. And I think the key thing is what I'm really keen to know is, where does the alignment with sherry come from? How did we ever get to? I mean, where did sherry become what it is now? But how did whiskey and sherry come together?
Oh, no. Gordon, absolutely, I love the story of sherry, and you can go right back. We'll not maybe have time tonight to go right back to where it all began, but for us, for this country, the story really kicks off. I mean, I believe the first reference to sherry being drunk in this country was round about 1340. We've been at it for a number of years, but it really kicked in the year 1587, when an act of, some might say, piracy, Gordon, if you're Spanish, Sir Francis Drake would be more of a privateer. So he went down to Cadiz, which I don't know, I'm sure you've been down to that historic trading port set up by the Phoenicians and then run by the Moors. And he went down there and raided it in 1587, and he set fire to the harbour. He stole not 3 kegs of sherry, not 300 kegs of sherry, but in 1587 he stole or appropriated 3,000 kegs of sherry and took them back to Elizabeth I, and she had a taste of it and proclaimed it the finest of all wines. And the hysteria in London and around the country to get a taste of this Francis Drake's wine from the Spanish, and that really set the love affair for sherry to come. Indeed, Gordon, before you jump in, Shakespeare himself got a taste of it, and it's all over his writings. And from Midsummer Night's Dream to Falstaff in Henry IV Part 2 talks about sherry and being a great addict of it and a great comic character. So it really got into the consciousness of England and then Britain because of Sir Francis Drake.
I'm sure it was depicted in Blackadder, wasn't it?
Yes, must have been. When he gets all the, that's where I get my history from. When he gets, so that was the love affair of sherry, and then of course we had all these wars. There's wars of Spanish succession get in the way. Easy for me to say, and then the Napoleonic Wars. Trading was going on, but very piecemeal until the European wars started to subside. And then round about the middle of the 1700s, that's when the trade started to really kick in for Britain. And again, we could now really import sherry. But what I wanted to say, Gordon, just a couple of things to take us back. Sherry as a commodity, really, that was for us. But as a commodity around the world, really kicked in when Columbus started sailing the ocean blue in 1492. He took sherry with him transatlantically and used it for various trade deals. And indeed, people like Vasco da Gama and Ferdinand Magellan one of my heroes, the first man to circumnavigate the globe in 1519 was Magellan. And catch this, Gordon, he took with him 417 wineskins of sherry and 256 kegs, more than any ammunition on board his boats. And they sailed around the world. And two things about this. One, to stop it from spoiling, you'd have to fortify it. Now, from Magellan onwards, they're starting to get the knowledge of putting hard, strong spirit into this wine from Spain to keep it from going off in those long transatlantic voyages. So fortification starts coming in around about the mid to late 1500s. And then, of course, when liquid's in a wooden container for so long, you start to see the effects of maturation and how wood starts to affect things. Something that we'll talk about tonight. So that was really the genesis of the sherry trade. And of course, we just took it to heart in the 1700s. And by the 1810s, the 1820s, people like Garvey, George Sanderson, Humbert, and the Spanish families of Gonzalez and Baez were going down to Andalusia and setting up shop and then importing it to England, to Holland. The trade was massive. And the casks they used to send the sherry up to Northern Europe was the local wood, the European oak.
The European oak transportation casks.
You did not make sherry in European local oak. It would be too spicy. It would make it too dark. The wrong type of profile for sherry. They just used those European oaks to transport to the ports of Bristol, to Liverpool, up to Glasgow. And then they were either stayed in the warehouse and then bottled. And the casks stayed in this country.
Well, that
You know what happens next, Gordon?
Well, we'll talk a little bit more about that as time comes. Gordon McIntyre saying, "Evening all, Mr. Dallas. How do you remember all that history? A great story." Well, Gordon, all I would say is it's definitely got something to do with your first name.
And it's also to do with, I've not touched any of these yet. I was under strict orders. But I love all that. And just on that, Gordon McIntyre as well, I was luckily enough, and we'll talk about it, I was in Jerez last year and I was in the square on Halloween, All Saints, not All Saints, the Day of the Dead. Yeah. There's all the kids with their faces getting painted as skeletons. We're having lunch, quite a long lunch. And there was a stage getting put up in front of the town hall in this village called Sanlúcar de Barrameda. And I'm across, I look at the stage and look at the kids all dressed up. And on the plaque, it said in 1519, Ferdinand Magellan left from this very spot to circumnavigate the globe for the very first time. I couldn't believe it. So I had to go to the show. And
he was your hero.
It's an amazing story, Gordon.
I mean, that is incredible. I mean, one of my heroes was Makepeace from Dempsey and Makepeace.
I did like she was very good, very good.
The only reason I say that is I met her, but I you know, it's slightly different to Magellan, if we're honest.
Yes, yeah.
So Sherry really got into the psyche of everybody in terms of the particularly in Britain, obviously, and that then allowed, along with many other casks back then, but sherry casks were used to were sort of acquired by the whiskey industry. Would that be fair?
Correct. And those early days of the 1800s, Gordon, there'll be other casks being acquired by the whiskey industry, no doubt. And even, I'm going to talk about the wonderful Tamdu and how in 1898 we've got a ledger saying that we're bringing sherry casks in. Even at that date in this country, there was people proclaiming, "Come and drink my whiskey fresh from the still." And there was some people saying, you know, mine has been matured into wine casks. But the people that matured it in sherry casks, they knew this was something special. And it would go on to be something very special. But in those times, the 19th century, people were jockeying for position, putting their spirit into whatever they could get. And the people that put it into this stuff, they're still here. Put it that way.
And that obviously sort of, you know, was still fairly limited. And then obviously if we move forward a little bit and we look after Prohibition, that'd be fair. After Prohibition in the States, there was a much more of an influx of American oak bourbon casks because of the rules that were the sort of lobbying that went on by the coopers in the States to ensure that bourbon could only be used, could only use a cask once, and that was important to sort of understand the influx of bourbon casks. Is that right?
That's correct. That's absolutely correct. The power of the unions in the States were very strong, and of course, once we just come out of prohibition, and yes, the rules get laid down for one use only. Just getting the industry in America going, just getting the casks in this country, World War II hits as well. So really, it's not to the 50s when that mass movement of casks starts to really get fully underway, and the Scotch whisky industry really starts to motor and then take off in the late 50s, early 60s.
And those European oak transportation casks were really transporting what you would call shop sherry that would be sold in stores, that would be bottled in the location it was going to, so London, or is that right?
That's absolutely correct. Yes, it'd be kept in big warehouses, and then it would be bottled when they need a rose. So these sherries were sitting there for, you could say, upwards of months and years in these big warehouses. Bristol was a huge part of the story, as was Glasgow. And
is that why you would have something like a Bristol cream?
Yes,
sherry?
Absolutely. And those merchants, as I said, would go down to Spain and set up shop and offices in Andalusia and send the sherry up to this country for very nice rates, I have to say, very good rates, because they were British and getting under the radar. So it's an amazing story. Sherry is one of the oldest drinks. I didn't even take you back to Phoenicians who brought the vines to that area in 1100 BC. That's when the story kicks off. It's one of the oldest, and as I said with Columbus and Magellan, first and most widely travelled of drinks. And it didn't take people in this country long to realise they're very, very special.
Incredible. And then in the 1980s, things changed.
That's right. That's right.
And that was due to I forgot the technical word, but it was due to the
Consejo de Regulador de Jerez. I think it's a bigger
it was due to that. Yeah.
That's right.
And that basically said that you had to bottle the sherry in the sherry triangle as well.
Correct.
Which meant that those transportation casks effectively stopped.
Yes, you can imagine. You can imagine the news filtered through to the whiskey makers in Scotland. It's like, what? They've been causing.
Yeah,
my man on the phone from Spain. It would have been an absolute panic, but for some, but for others, Gordon, it was an opportunity, because at that time in the mid-80s, the early 80s, which I know you would know well with your neon tracksuits and disco music that you so loved of the time.
And Dempsey Makepeace.
People were turning away from whiskey at that time, and sherried whiskey especially. We're moving into clear drinks, fancy vodkas, and the taste was moving to the lighter, clearer spirits. And a lot of the producers decided just to follow the market. Possibly, if they're going to keep with whiskey, get the bourbon barrels and put the spirit into bourbon casks, which will give you that profile that the younger drinkers seem to like with the vodkas. So a lot of people just decided to turn their back on the sherry maturation.
But the Scotch whisky industry, or certain people within the Scotch whisky industry, decided we need to start making our own cask. We need to start using the European oak that would be used to transport and using them to produce our own casks. And that's where sherry seasoned cask came from.
Correct.
Now, the other thing that just before we sip our first whiskey, which will be our new whiskey of the evening, just from a taste profile perspective, I think it's also important to say that American oak is also synonymous with Spain in terms of American oak being imported into Spain for many years. And so you go and see a beautiful Solera in a bodega in Spain where they make sherry these days for sale. These casks are very old. They're in a very dedicated system. They are not interactive casks at all. They are casks purely for holding sherry to allow the oxidative aging of sherry. And so these casks are not what we're looking for Scotch whisky, which is, I think, a bit misconception about sherry casks. We use these newly created casks of European oak and American oak.
Correct. And
European oak and American oak.
And this is the cooperage that I think you visited as well, Gordon.
Yeah, absolutely.
I spoke to Narciso, who owns this cooperage, and I said, when did you start and he said in 1982, I had a sawmill in the north, and then the Scotch whisky industry came calling, and I had decided to start a cooperage in the south. Was there, and that's when his business started to really climb. When people come down and said, "Make them for us, please."
And I think what you notice is if you go into one of these bodegas, Williams and Humbert, or any of the other bodegas down there in that part of the world, you see the beautiful Soleras, and we put a film up recently of sherry and Soleras that we did in there. But you also see a huge amount of new casks seasoning with sherry, just that sherry working in and out of that toasted oak to give us what we can mature our whiskies in now. So Gordon, now let's move on to the whiskies. That was fantastic. I don't know how you remember all that. Unbelievable. He's got 15 post-it notes around his.
That's right.
Yeah. But you, when these whiskies, both these whiskies used to be travel retail whiskies.
Yes.
You've got the story of a little bit of the story. I was actually at the selection of this Heathrow cask at the offices in London.
Right.
I think it was 2019, February, early 2019, I think, from what I can remember. And we took down 5 samples, myself and William and Sarah from the GTR team, and we did a wee tasting in their boardroom. And what was very interesting about this was this whiskey was pretty much the universal winner, this cask. And this is, here we are here. Here it is here. The Heathrow cask, American oak sherry cask. 57.1%, bizarrely exactly the same strength as the Edinburgh cask. 595 bottles, distilled 2003 in September and bottled in June 2019. The reason I ask is obviously you did a little bit of work in the GTR channel. Obviously, that's struggling at the moment, which is why we've got some of these back. Mm-hmm. What was the thoughts on the Heathrow cask when it first hit the shelves?
Oh, it was great. I was in Terminal 3 and Terminal 5 this year, just before it all closed down virtually. And it was just fabulous. I mean, we talk about this liquid and lips. Really, the people that know their whiskies really appreciated a single cask. You know, I'm not hugely familiar with the world of travel retail, but you know, there's whiskies everywhere from every location in the planet, but not many single casks, not many whiskies, and there's only 595 of them in the world. And you've said I've got a few bottles here. Would you like a taste? So to say it went down very well, Gordon, would be an underestimation. It was a real star of the show. Really great. Okay. And sadly, I was there, I think it was February, early March, and that was it. That was the game up, really. So here we are, got another chance to sample them and put them on for sales. I'm delighted the powers that be have went for this.
It's fantastic. And so this style of cask is more attuned to the cask Sandy selected, which became his World Whiskey Award-winning single cask of the year. Sandy, I know, prefers an American oak sherry cask to a European oak. And that's because generally I think it's a little bit less, European oak becomes a little bit sort of spicy and tannic and dry, and that's the nature of European oak. American oak actually has a lot more of a sort of buttery creaminess to it, a vanilla obviously, but also a sort of stewed fruit element to this as well. 57.1, it really is a fabulous example of a American oak sherry cask. And this is and understanding the differences between these allows you to understand that when we combine whiskey similar to this into something like this is how we make a 15 so fabulously diverse in its aromas, not forgetting the spirit style. So let's just try a little bit of this. Let's have a little bit of nose of this. Isn't he picking up on the nose on this one? That doesn't nose of 57.1 for starters. Can I just point out this is a very small Glencairn glass? I'm not particularly big tonight. It's just a very small glass.
And I'm using that wonderful Tamdu special edition glass, the nosing glass from the original is in Sandy's office. This is what they were nosing in the Victorian period. And my goodness, the aromas you get from this glass to that whiskey is wow.
Can you get your nose in there? Can you get your nose in there?
What do you think, Gordon? It's not as... And just say hello to Chris and hello to Susanna. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, hello. Yes, good evening, good evening. So yeah, this is absolutely fabulous. So what I've got those sort of stewed fruits. I'm getting a sort of quite a lot of Tamdu coming through. 57.1. Would never guess it was 57.1. That's true of pretty much every single cask we've ever done. Really, truly fabulous nose and aroma on this whiskey. Arguably a little bit more diverse than a European oak, because there's not as much masking going on with those thick, rich flavors. But my lord, that is a fabulous nose. What are you thinking?
Yeah. I'm just thinking. You mentioned butteriness. I'm thinking, and I'm going through a bit of a honey phase. I read somewhere recently that honey was the wonder food that you should be all tasting. So I've been doing quite a lot of honey, and this buttery. I'm thinking a wee bit of buttery toast with honey on top.
Nice. It's beautiful nose.
Really.
Even the greenness. I'm going to have a little taste of this. 57.1. Let's go for it.
It's so smooth. Yes, Slanjava, thank you for joining us.
Oh, wow. Yeah, of course, there's a little bit of strength in that, but it's a little bit spicy. But it's going to change also in the glass. But that has got a real touch to it. It's got a real balance to it as well. I think the other thing that I notice is it's got this sort of, I'm trying to describe it. And there's a bit of vanilla and plums and those sorts of flavors, but there's quite a spicy finish to it, but it's long and rich as well. It's like creamy, it's like a Kranaken style sort of honey, sort of berry, sort of spicy maltiness to this.
Yes, I got a flash of marmalade, oranges and lovely fruitiness, and the explosion that first happens. You talk about mouthfeel, Gordon, really just warms up the mouth.
Yeah.
And then for me, it lifts, it disappears almost, and it all starts to go down as a finish. And wonderful. Ready for some more.
Yeah, it's absolutely very, very appealing. Very, 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 very sort of juicy, quite juicy, this whiskey.
Obviously juicy and fresh. And
I'm going to add a drop of water. Let's try that.
I'll just double check that.
Oh, spilled it all over my trousers. That's fine.
I've added a hint of water here. Let's bring it all back, Gordon. When I was in Heathrow Terminal 5, I think it was Feb, I did speak to the people that were on that tasting panel that you said they got together and did it, and we had a little Tamdu tasting. And usually there's about 5 or 6 join you. You get taken away through the back. If you've ever been to Terminal 5 Heathrow, nondescript doors, down a corridor, and you're actually in a service corridor with your whiskey, and you've only got the staff that can make it. I've only got about 5 minutes to give a wee refresher. You're just doing a refresher on site, and usually you get about 5 or 6. I got there, I turned around, I think there's about 30 people had heard that there was a Tamdu tasting and made it into the service corridor.
Not just that, they heard it was a Tamdu tasting by Gordon Dallas.
Whatever. It is. It's legendary. It really is. It's one of the great.
No, absolutely. And it was great. It's just it's a shame the way things are, but we've managed to get some of these back, which is harder than you'd think, funnily enough. But great to get these back. What a fabulous whiskey. Very juicy, very buttery. And even just by nosing the Edinburgh one, you can just see the huge difference in these. And that really is the crux of when you buy a Tamdu, you get the benefits of this and that, as well as that. The benefit of drinking a Tamdu, the richness it gives you, the mouthfeel it gives you, the flavors it gives you, is how you balance the first fill and refill of both these types of casks. And that is beautiful. So the Heathrow one is an absolutely fabulous example of an American oak sherry cask.
So no water added, no filter. It's just put in a cask and left for 15 years.
Correct. And that really sort of says that, I'm pretty, as I said to you the other day, I think what's interesting is that I do not think there's anybody who matures whiskey like we do in the whole of the industry. We're maturing from start to finish in both types of casks. Mm-hmm. We marry them together. We use first fill and refill of those two types. That is it. There's a lot of people finish in sherry casks, which is a different type of whiskey. I'm not suggesting I do like sherry finishes whiskies. When you fully mature, you get a very different style of whiskey. and the oak type becomes so crucial. It's absolutely beautiful, this whiskey.
It really is. It's that berry. I'm getting more of it, Gordon. Just that lovely, as you say, it's juicy and it's fresh and it's the lovely sort of a berry. You know, I love that sort of raspberries and strawberries and just that berryness I'm getting. You know, it's just that lovely summer in the glass.
It's an absolute belter. I've added a few drops of water and it just becomes even juicier. It becomes even more sort of, you just want to, it's very moorish. You want to have more of it. It really is a fantastic draught.
Yeah, it's not drying at all. It doesn't dry. It's not spicing. It's just wonderful.
So if anybody out there hasn't seen the Spain to Speyside videos or any of the coverage we've done on Sherry Cask in the last couple of years, I had a particularly tough trip out there with Sandy.
I saw that.
Strongly recommend that. Sandy, who only eats tomatoes out in Spain, but it's good. Fantastic trip. Have a look at the coverage we've got on the Facebook page. It's on the internet as well. It's on the website. But it really is in the same vein as Vic Cameron just said. Sandy's choice last year was an American oak, and it was amazing. Yeah. This is right up there. It's in the same vein. It's a beautiful example of an American oak sherry cask, and it is on the website. I think people are already diving in to get one for Christmas. 249. Fire away. I don't know how many of them we've got, but that would be great. So we're going to put that. We're going to do a wee experiment at the end. So don't finish your whiskey. So
that's an order.
I heard today. I want to talk to you about this. I've heard today that the Spirit of Speyside Whiskey Festival is planning on going ahead next year.
Oh, yes.
I have heard that today. So if that is the case, folks, we will be, a little bit of news ahead of time. We will be obviously open as Tamdu, I would imagine, if it hopefully not socially distanced by then, but we will be doing tours and I guess and things like that. Obviously depends how things move on, but that will be the plan. What we've done for the last few years will be the plan. So in terms of products for that, we'll obviously be looking at a new Dalby Alley 4, and there'll be one or two other things in terms of other, like a single cask as well. So we're excited by that.
The Dalby Alley Gordons are incredible as well. Absolutely incredible whiskies. And when we were there last year, they were literally flying off.
They were.
Our make-do shelf at Tamdu. It's just amazing.
And we only do 1,000 of them, and they're hugely popular, and there's a real following of them, which is fantastic. Now, Gordon, you are one of a few people who, apart from the wonderful Sandy, who sort of has done tours around. Yes. And you're, I call you a Glengoyne veteran. You've done a lot of Glengoyne tours, and I want to ask, what is it when you go around Tamdu, and you compare it to other distilleries? What is it that you think makes Tamdu from a production side? What do you think makes it a little bit different?
It's a great question, Gordon, and
one that I've clearly just sprung on you.
Yes, you have. We do a podcast together called Unscripted. This happens all the time. I was ready for it. Hang on to read my. I think you can even go right back to 1897. Charles Doig, the celebrated architect of 56, 57 distilleries, it was said it was the most advanced of its time when it started. And when you're going round the distillery, it is they've taken down the Saladin Maltons, and now there's new barley intake silos there, and it's still it's just a wonderfully still quite modern. Not the most, and I think Sandy will admit, not the most picturesque distilleries, but
there are prettier distilleries.
But there's a love in that. That's what I'm trying to say, and I think the Stillhouse is pretty fabulous as well, pretty impressive, as the Upper Turn Room is with the big 9 washbacks.
You forget the capacity. It's 4 times. It can produce up to 4 times, 4 million litres. That's a lot of whiskey.
And they use a SCADA system, so it's a one person operative system.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting to see how that works as well. So it's still, for me, it looks very technical.
Because
and
the reason I ask, I think obviously the fact it's not open to the public is a big thing, but those tickets disappear so quickly at the Spirit of Speyside Whisky Festival. And it's great to see so many people who love coming to Tamdu, love what we do as a brand, which is great. And so I heard that today while I was talking to some whiskey journalists. So if that's fantastic news. We'll obviously be there. We'll obviously be doing things. So a little bit of Susanna Connolly. Hi, Susanna. Good evening. Could listen to you both all day. So much whiskey knowledge. Maybe a great idea to set up something like a whiskey podcast. Maybe call it something like, I don't know, maybe Whiskey Unscripted. That's a great idea. What do you think?
Somebody might have thought, two handsome young chaps might have thought of that. I don't know. We'll have to check that.
We'll have to check with them. Great.
Chris and Rick want to get hold of tickets as well. So again, we're in the lap of whatever happens. But it's a great tour, Gordon. It really is. If you can get on that and you get the golden ticket to come round, I think what makes it special, just to finish off your point, because I didn't make it a great point, but I think what makes it special is you do your tour, and then about halfway to 3/4 of the way round, he said he wasn't because he's busy. Sandy jumps out, and then holds court. He said a little bit for 5 minutes. About half an hour later, he's still at it. It's just wonderful.
It's not like Sandy can't talk, So, and what I love about Sandy, he's so proud of the distillery, proud of what we're producing, proud of all of these single casks, and as we all are. And the team up there are fabulous. And it's annoying I've not been able to go up there for 9 months for this because of this damn virus. But let's hope that things pick up. So we've tasted the Heathrow cask, which is an absolute belter. I want to change the tone, change the scene a little bit, and let's move into European oak. Let's move into a very different experience. Both of these, of course, seasoned with Oloroso for 2 years. Now we're into Spanish oak. Most of our European oak comes from Spain. So again, if you've not seen the video, we talk about the sort of cutting down of the cask. But the first thing that strikes you, what a natural color this is. Absolutely stunning. And this is by no means one of the darkest European oaks. We have darker than this, and that's just because each cask is different. But the color here is absolutely fabulous. So let's have a little nose of this.
As soon as I nosed it, Gordon, I am instantly back at the filling store at Tamdu. Instantly. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Just that smell, the oak. You can smell it all around when you're in that filling store with the warehouses all around you. That's what I'm getting straight away. I'm transported back to the wonderful old damaged warehouses.
Yeah, it's a stunning colour. 57.1%. This is the oldest single cask we've ever done, is it not?
It is. Yep. Which was distilled in 2002. And it would be.
Are you looking at the box there, Gordon? He's got the box.
I've got a mirror lined up. 2002, yes.
Yeah.
And put in bottle.
So is this 16, 17 years old?
I'll be 17 years old. Yeah. 17.
So, yeah, I mean, the key point is we don't have a lot of stocks beyond that sort of range. So our next big thing will be the 18-year-old, which will be in the future. We're talking 18 months away, but that's our next big thing for Tamdu that we want to produce. Back to this. Now, the Edinburgh team, I think, came up to Tamdu to select this. You were not there, were you?
I wasn't there, no. I worked at the airport for a month at Edinburgh the year before, and this was, again, absolutely, flying off the shelves. People were just so taken by it, by the scarcity as well. A single cask right there from Tamdu.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's absolutely true. If we look at travel retail as an entity, I think probably 5 years ago, travel retail, some of the offerings within that arena were not as good as they could have been. When we were asked to bring out a range we decided to create a range for Tamdu. We did the Grand Reserva, and the Amber, which are both really, really fantastic whiskies. If you've never tried them, any Tamdu fans out there, absolutely worth trying to get a hold of those next time you are. If we do get back to an element of normality, pick up both of those. They are fantastic. And the Amber, beautiful orange box, and the Grand Reserva, all first fill, very limited edition. Yes. Simply fabulous whiskies, very different to the domestic. And then we provided these 2 single casks. And the Edinburgh one, I know the team were very proud of this whiskey when they selected it and when it came onto the floor. And you were there when we had our wonderful activation and we were selling it. And incredibly well received for let's face it, Tamdu's a brand that's not as well known as some of the big brands, But it was a beautiful, beautiful example of what Tamdu does, and I think that's why it was so successful. So to get that back and to get that available for people to try is fantastic. So much more of that sort of limited edition, much more of that sort of European oak style, more of that after dinner style peeking through in this whiskey than more of the sort of the juicy fruits disappeared into dried fruits in the European oak. And remember, these casks have gone through the same process. So the only difference here is the oak. That's
what's great about it. The colour couldn't be more marked, and neither could the nose. Really, you would even blind nosing, you can tell straight away the oakiness and the spiciness and the richness. As you say, dark fruits there, real classic sherry notes, and just can't wait to taste it, Gordon. Just give me the off. I'm away.
I'm in there. Oh yeah. And immediately.
Thank you to all for joining, Gus. You're right enough, Gus. Thank you, Gordon. Caroline from Edinburgh Airport's watching tonight as well. Caroline, you were doing much better than I was at selling things there. I was just your, wingman. Ben Marnock, he's bought a 15. So, yeah, great time to open it. Christmas is coming. Absolutely. It's planned to all the people listening tonight.
I've just spilled my whiskey. Oh, no. Just spilt it. Oh, no. Could you just hold court for a second, Gordon, while I get a towel?
Take a mouthful.
It's right over my computer.
So you're right enough compared to the last one. I've got lovely spice right up the side of my tongue there, sticking around the mouth, really full, lovely mouth coating. Oh, it just, Gordon talks about the fruit and things, but it's really wonderfully dark, fruity spice, which I love. You talk about the tannins there, lovely, begin to dry off now, and then the finish. My goodness, it's huge, long finish. But again, Gordon, I'm still getting that, not as fresh, but I'm still getting some of the berries, some of the sweetness as well. We're still, it's not a drying you up there. How's your computer?
Well, it's still working because I'm still online, so that's good. Yeah, no, that was fairly not good. Right, so
Dixie, what a waste.
I know, sorry about that. These things happen, but it's live television. What were you talking about?
I'm just doing a tasting there, just lovely. Just as saying the spice here, getting a lovely tingle the back of the tongue there, dancing around, full mouth coating. Really lovely, rich, warm notes to it for me. More back of palate.
This has got, still a bit of Christmas pudding around, coffee kicking about. That's what this is. Katie's saying, which is my Christmas day dram. This would be my evening. This is the after dinner one, and maybe post walk before lunch, maybe a wee bit of this one. So whiskies like this are a little bit like where you would want to drink them, how you would drink them, etc. And that's really, really important to understand that. That they are different for sure, these whiskies, they manifest themselves in your mind about where you would drink them differently.
I'd have 2 of the Heathrow Airport drams, if not 3, and I'll just have 1 large one of this. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if that's any whiskey taste. I just love to. This is savouring. Absolutely.
Oh, it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Now I'm going to pour a wee bit more of the one I spilt there because we're going to do a wee experiment now, Gordon. And I want you to this is a great bit of fun. So I want you, if you've got a spare glass.
I do.
Have you? Good. Excellent.
Right. I have a spare glass here. Oh, don't tell me Gordon spilt more of his whiskey in his computer because he's gone, and now it's just myself. So I've been waiting for this for a number of years, and now the Tamdu national anthem, sung by myself, soon to be joining Alfie Bow and Ball on the next album. But what we're going to try and do, of course, what Gordon's going to try and do is we're going to try and put a little bit of each into a glass and affect really what we do with the core range is combine the European and the American oak together. So we'll wait for Gordon to come back there, but it's so difficult to choose one. You can't really. It's both single casks, and there's a discussion there, and please join in. You know, single cask, is it necessarily better than the combination of casks that Gordon's about to do? Not another. Did you not spill more in your laptop?
No, it's still working. I just had a technical.
Gus was saying the GD show. I was just about to do a rendition of the Ball and Bow album. You know, just some Christmas songs from the sauna. I'm working on it.
So have you got to the point we're going to combine these together?
Yes, I said that's what you're about to attempt to do, and this is what we do for the core range. But I wanted to wait until you.
Well, yeah. So we've got two whiskies at the same strength, both first fill. I've got an empty glass here. I'm going to pour them together. Why not? I'm going to pour them at a ratio of 50-50. I'm just going to pour them together, see what we get. Because that's effectively how John does it at Tamdu. John, our master blender. So I've just done that.
Katie was asking the best Christmas dram, Gordon. This would be what a Christmas this would be. A lovely glass of one, a lovely glass of t'other, and then towards the end of the evening, a little masterclass. Become the master blender yourself.
Absolutely. And this is what we've just done. Now, I've just combined the two together, and I absolutely am getting. Oh, now that's quite interesting. You see both sides, obviously. But it's got that slight jagginess of the European oak, but there's a bit of that. The fruits have changed a little bit more now as well. 57.1. Oh, let's have a little taste.
Just that fruitier, sort of juicy, buttery edge onto the spice of the.
Now, that does have elements of the 15 in it. Oh, that's really, really good. I'm enjoying the sort of, you get the sort of sweetness of the American oak at the front. You get the tannins of the European oak. You get the thickness of both of them. Of course, there's raisins in there. Of course, there's a bit of dark fruit, but there's also hints of vanilla. There's still hints of citrus even coming through. There's a bit of greenness as well. Beautiful, beautiful combination. And that's just very simple combining of those two casks. Look at the color of that as well. Absolutely gorgeous. And that is how we make Tamdu. We obviously use refills as well, of course, which are crucial to understanding very few people make whiskey the way we do. And so the benefit of the consumer, the benefit to you guys who drink it, is you're drinking a single malt that's constructed in a way like pretty much no other, using exclusively sherry casks. And that means that you get this taste, which is deep, rich. There's that Tamdu spirit as well. I think it's really unique. Well, it's not really unique. You're either unique or you're not. It's unique in whiskey.
I think, and also when I'm just drinking it there, Gordon, one thing I was thinking of was just, you said chocolate earlier on. I was away with a lovely Turkish delight with my fruity Turkish delight with a bit of cinnamon sprinkled on top of it. Wonderful. But I was at the banks of the Spey, which I think when you're drinking a Tamdu, and that's why if you ever get a chance, even if it's not open, you can walk the Spey side way and pause a while at the railway station and look over the Spey with Tamdu behind you. And that's where I'm at the moment. You know, it's a Speyside whiskey that matures its whiskey by the banks of the River Spey, and that is so special. So when I'm drinking this, I can hear the. I'm
up there in the washback. I'm up there in that washback.
That's
fabulous. It's up there, sitting by the Spey on the bench, the old washback. It's fabulous.
There's a lovely conversation going on the chat there with our GTR man, William. He was saying when we're up at Tamdu with the Edinburgh Airport and Duffery teams, the cask chosen was the overwhelming favourite. Wow. They had the pleasure of samples from 8. What? Superb cask.
8. Tough day at the office.
I bet there was 4 there. And William was like, no, just one more, just pretend we don't know. So they got to 8 casks. 7 out of 8 in the tasting panel chose the one which ended as the selected Edinburgh Airport, the EDI cask. It's a stunner. And Caroline, who I've mentioned already, said it was a fantastic day.
Sounds like a great day. I mean,
I'm glad you remember, Caroline.
When we did the one in Heathrow, we had to do it down in Heathrow at the Dufry offices. Not quite the same.
I know them,
but there was an overwhelming favourite as well, which is the one we were tasting was obviously the one they selected. It was again the overwhelming favourite. So these are 2 fine examples of those 2 types of casks. And are you enjoying the combined together? Look at the colour.
I am enjoying the combined.
Absolutely fabulous.
Really fabulous. As you see, it's that sort of you can take. Now we've done the single tastings, you can really pick out the positive notes in each of them. Yeah. Really, I love the spice. I love the tannins. I love the richness of this European oak, but that fruity freshness and drinkability of the American oak. It's just all in that glass. It's just amazing. And on the airport issue, by the way, can I just say, if you ever work at Heathrow, Gordon, it's maybe not advisable to take a kilt with all the dirks and kilt pins and buckles through the staff security.
I should have told you that.
Yeah, I was there for some time. Yeah, having to.
Rubber gloves.
So that's. I just thought I'd tell you that. Juha, our friend from Finland's, the Finnish blogger, Mr. Finnish Whiskey. How are you? He's saying hello. He says, I wish I had the same drams as you do. I know, but it is Christmas. You know,
it is Christmas. Absolutely.
We might buy you one of these single casks, which would be a very special gift to give Juha if you're listening and you're his friend.
So if anybody out there's got a question, put it on the text. But I think, Gordon, we've talked a little bit about next year. We've talked a little bit about, obviously this year's been a tough year for the industry as a whole.
I know.
But I think hopefully things are looking better. And certainly if we look at Tamdu from around the world, doing a little bit of a snapshot, Tamdu in Asia is going very, very well. America, like most malts at the moment, Tamdu's a little bit high, a little bit struggling ever so slightly just with the tariffs, but that's understandable, like most malts over there. But again, look in Germany, looking in France, looking all around. Tamdu's beginning to garner that reputation of sherry cask, which is exactly where we want it to be.
And how was China, Gordon? I know you dipped into China on the.
China was great. They were sitting around. There was 30 people sitting around the table like there was nothing normal. However, I did get the inside scoop. The inside scoop is, yes, it did look normal, but the paperwork you have to fill in and submit to the government to tell them how you're getting to the venue, and you have to take the route that you say you're going. Right. What seat you were sitting in on the train, what taxi you got, and you can submit stuff as you go on the sort of equivalent of WhatsApp. So they have to jump through a lot of hoops, obviously, to go to that. But we did 3 Tamdu dinners in Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou, which I beamed into, which was great.
Yeah, they will absolutely love this. John Duffy's just asking, is Tamdu still doing tours just now? Well, no one's doing them at all anywhere in Scotland, and Tamdu don't do them. It's only, if you've ever seen the movie Brigadoon, it's a village that appears out the mist once every 100 years. Tamdu tours are like that. You get 2 days in the year, Gordon. You get a chance, the doors open, and it's the Speyside Festival.
In 4K, yeah.
Wonderful. And I was actually going over some photographs today of the 2018 Speyside Festival when Sandy and yourself and Ian allowed me to do a little talk at night.
Yes. Remember that. That was brilliant.
Really fun.
A few other people. Next year will be even more challenging with Brexit. Good for duty free. Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see what what happens with Brexit. But greet Tom O'Hara. Tom, good evening from New York. Yes, I am looking forward to getting back to New York and doing some great work with our team, Shaw Ross team over there, who love our brands, and it's great to be getting over there. Let's just get rid of those damn tariffs.
I know. You've now got the 12, they've got the 15, you've got the Dalby Alleys, they've got the whole range, Gordon. The batch strengths are just incredible. So you've really got a wonderful brand there. So Bring it on. That's what we say. Bring it on.
Yeah. Guy Dutton, Gordon, how many casks were made available when they selected from at Heathrow in Edinburgh? I think Edinburgh we said was 8.
8. And
I think Heathrow was 4 or 5. So there we go. I think that's where we're at. Chris Grieve, good evening. And at the beginning of January, we'll have a tasting of 12 modern day Tamdus. Fantastic. That's brilliant. So yeah, look, we're just going to wrap this up fairly shortly. Gordon, what are you up to over the next? What are you up to in the run up to Christmas?
Doing. Do you want the serious answer or the absolutely off the top of my head ridiculous answer?
The ridiculous answer.
I've decided to turn the sauna into a elf hut, and I'll be helping Santa make up the presents from now till Christmas Eve. That's roughly the. You did ask for it. The actual answer is a lot of online tastings. So we're doing a lot of online tastings.
Well, yes, we are doing a lot of online tastings at the moment. So, yeah, and there's a few questions about the Spirit of Speyside Whiskey Festival, I think, tickets. Not sure. I just heard that today, so I'm not 100% sure. Oh, they're talking about something else.
Something to be excited about, Gordon. No, it's something, something to hopefully pin the hat on. We have to wait for all this government legislation, but if you can get up to Speyside, and it's not just Tamdhu, everybody opens their doors. Great atmosphere.
Fabulous. Hello, really Gordon. Great success from the new Tamdu batch strength for us in Belgium. Great to hear. Belgium is going well. Great market, great people. Really Holland's been going very well. Germany. So yeah, look, it's Tamdu is catching a following, which is great because it's a whiskey which is, mark my words, going to be sought after in the years to come. So Gordon, I'm gonna. This is. I know. Look at that. That's beautiful. You've done quite a lot of that, Gordon. You've done a few dry runs of this tasting.
I was very nervous, so I thought it'd be better just do the nosing. It just seems to evaporate. It's just so hot in the sauna. It just seems to go in evaporation.
So we would like to wish all of the people who have been on any of our Facebook lives, YouTube lives over the last year. We like to think we've maybe kept you entertained. We like to think we've informed you. Maybe you've even learned something, but we would just like to say thank you for supporting us, the brand, Sandy, the team, and everybody at Ian McLeod is very grateful for your support and your love for the brand. So thank you. Slanjava to you all. To you, Mr. Dallas, I'll speak to you next week in our final Whiskey Unscripted. Quick plug. And we look forward to a new year with Tamdu in 2021.
Absolutely. I cannot wait to see what else there has been planned. But this, just to finish off, is just try and give it the doleful eyes to somebody that's looking to buy you a present. Just Twitter and say Tamdu 249279. It's really not too bad considering what some of these game consoles you're buying your kids cost. This would see you happy, you can say, throughout the festive season. So that was my advice to people listening. Flutter the eyes and puppy dog.
I'm going to try that. Slanjava, Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays. And I wish you all the best. And we look forward to seeing you all in the new year.
Yes.
So relax, be merry, enjoy a Tamdu over the holidays.
I certainly will. Thank you. A Merry Christmas and a
cheers,
goodbye
Gordon.
to one and all. Slanjava, folks.
Slanjava. I think my computer's broken.